Love. It's a funny old game, isn't it? Invisible, intangible, this unquantifiable force permeates all aspects of daily and nightly life, making its presence known through ceremony, ritual, and culture. Due to its universality, love is a significant theme in popular entertainment, often the focus of film, music, and of course, comic books. Indeed, at one point, romance comics outsold superhero titles, something that may come as a shock to readers of today. Let's turn back the dial to a time when men were men, women were women, and love came face to face at breakfast.
Breakfast!
Industry professionals Jack Kirby and Joe Simon produced the first true entry in the genre, 1947's Young Romance #1. The book sold out quickly, with subsequent issues moving even greater numbers. Other publishers took notice, and by 1950, there were nearly 150 romance titles on the stands, dominating the market. However, unlike their caped and cowled cousins, romance comics were grounded in reality, offering readers more down-to-earth situations and characters they might actually relate to, rather than idolize or strive to emulate. In spite of their more relatable nature, romance comics weren't shy about resorting to the sort of titillating imagery and suggestive wordplay that made crime and horror books so popular, with titles like Runaway Bride, Dance Hall Pickup, and Backdoor Love. These comics offered sugar and spice, making them an appealing four-color confection for the masses. Psychiatrist Frederick Wertham noted this, and, with the publication of his book, Seduction of the Innocent, The Influence of Comic Books on Today's Youth, the entire medium was turned on its head. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We begin with 3 stories from Personal Love, number 11, and my copy has some rather unique embellishments on the cover. I'll admit, I never really thought about it before, but Gene Tierney looks really good with a nose ring. The first story features pencils by legendary comics creator Alex Toth at the beginning of his illustrious career. A vacation in Gloria encounters the handsome and wealthy Roger, their whirlwind romance leading to a sudden engagement. It's hard to believe, really, but Gloria's not dreaming. Roger's committed to whisking her off to New York to be married. It seems like every girl's fantasy, but not everyone is so thrilled. This handsome elevator operator confesses his infatuation with Gloria, and who could blame him? I mean, look at how she's drawn. He confesses he only took the hotel job because he saw her check in. Oh, and he's in love with her. Somebody call a cop already. Gloria is so enraged at his perfidy that even a gratuitous shower scene won't cool her down. However, by the time she gets back to the elevator, the operator is gone, but he remains in her thoughts. Later that night, Gloria hooks up with Roger for a moonlit walk on the beach. The ghostly silhouette of sailboats on the water compel the pair to take a twilight cruise, but all of the charter boats are already in use. Roger approaches a private yacht, offering a cool $100 for the skipper to ferry them around the Cape or some such. Only look who it is, the elevator masher. He sure recognizes them, and after a bit of salty back and forth, agrees to Roger's offer, but Gloria suddenly has cold feet. After coming this far, Roger insists they can't let the full moon and the warm, soft breeze go to waste, so Gloria concedes to the trip. We get some nice, moody art from Toth, but the exotic scenery isn't enough to alleviate Gloria's anxiety. She simply can't relax with that man on board, but before they can turn back, a sudden storm rolls in. The skipper orders his passengers below deck, but Roger is used to giving the orders and resists. He demands to be taken back to shore, but the weather has other ideas. A fierce wind snaps the mast, and Roger flips, adding to the havoc. With no time to argue, the skipper lays Roger out. He demands Gloria get downstairs, dragging her soggy beau with him. However, the skipper needs to be on deck to steer the ship, leaving an inexperienced but willing Gloria to man the pumps. By dusk, the storm is abated, leaving the small crew shaken and exhausted. With no mast, the ship is now at the mercy of the wind and waves, leaving them adrift in the Bahamas until help arrives. We learn the skipper's name is Bill Johnson, a level-headed sort in spite of his stalkerish tendencies. He manages to beach the boat, but the isle is barren, an uninhabited strip of land lost in the vastness of ocean. Weeks pass with an improvised shelter built near the beach so they might flag down any passing ships. In spite of their relative health and safety, Roger's not taking it well. After all, he's a wheeler-dealer used to big city pleasures, and the lack of connubial relations has him on edge. The fornicationally challenged 40-something demands the captain marry them so that he might have his way with Gloria, but Bill just tells Roger to get a grip. And Roger does, on a nearby conch shell, which he uses to bash Bill's head in. With no one to stop him, Roger moves on Gloria, but she rabbits, vanishing into the brush. In rage, Roger follows. Reaching the beach, Gloria notices a passing ship, which the desperate pair manage to flag down. Later, back at the dock, Roger apologizes to Bill for losing his head. There must be something he can do to make amends. Yeah, leave him the hell alone. Unsurprisingly, Gloria has also soured on old Roger after their last little midnight romp. She'd prefer to stay with Bill on his death trap of a boat and go home with Hansy McGee, and it looks like a happy ending for our nautical couple. And Roger? I'm pretty sure he did all right for himself. Tourist Martha Brown finds herself mixed up in nothing less than the Latin American Revolution in a delightful little tale called Escape. When the action breaks out, Martha heads to the American consulate, but the best they can do is load her onto a departing train, a dicey proposition. The train travels through the night, but the next morning is forced to a stop by banditos. After giving up their Fritos, the passengers are forced to line up alongside the train with only the rich to be spared. Proto-Karen Martha freaks out, demanding safe passage to the border. Strangely enough, the banditos do not recognize her authority, but agree to spare her because she's the hottest thing they've seen since Lupe Velez. With gunshots echoing in the distance, Martha is taken to the Generalissimo's cabin. And hey, it's nice. Cozy. Why, with a woman's touch, this could be a lovely little hovel. At first, Martha is cold to his advances, but after a few drinks of tequila, she'll soon be seeing things the Generalissimo's way. However, before things can get all Rogery, the captain of the guard bursts in. This is Andrews, and as a soldier for hire, he was commissioned to fight in this war for $200 a week. And he hasn't received a dime. He demands Martha in lieu of payment, and the general accedes, unwilling to lose such a valuable asset. Once alone, Andrews assures Martha she's safe, but she's not buying it. He's just a murderer like the rest of them. Andrews takes umbrage at the comparison. He doesn't have any hard-won ideals or desire to free his people from brutal oppression. He only kills for money. Martha tells him to shoot her as she'd rather be dead than his captive, and she's told to shut up. What a charming couple. Later that night, Martha is abruptly awoken. It's time to escape. Leaving the tent, she shrieks at the murdered guard, waking the other banditos. What follows is a nightmare race for the jungle, struggling up and down the seemingly endless rocky slopes and hillsides. Martha quickly grows exhausted and needs to rest, but the banditos are right behind them. She asks again for Andrews to shoot her so she's not taken alive. What is it with this chick? Andrews, sorely tempted, saves the bullets for their pursuers. He takes out a number of the banditos due to their lanterns, and the pair once again pull away into the hills. Soon comes the dawn, and they reach the jungle at last. The odds are better here, as the horses can't follow. After a brutal trek through the green hell, Martha collapses, and Andrews quickly assembles a tree shelter for them to hide in. Mounting a leaf-obscured platform, the pair wait, exhausted. Before passing out, Martha asks Andrews just why he's chosen to throw it all away on her, but the mercenary brushes her off. Unable to sleep in the jungle heat, Martha sweats on the platform. Eyes closed, she's shocked to discover a pair of rough lips on her own. one lingering kiss, and no more, before she passes out from exhaustion. The next day is more of the same, a desperate trek through the unending jungle. As there isn't an In-N-Out burger for miles, Andrew shoots a parrot and cooks it up for dinner. Yeah, I'll just have a few rolls, thanks. After their meal, Martha introduces herself, learning Andrews is from Texas, of all places. The people you meet in the South American jungle, huh? Andrews tells her to be quiet and go to sleep, and she counters, asking if she does, is he going to kiss her again? Pretty awkward, really, but there's no time to dwell on it, as the banditos are still out there. The next morning, the bedraggled duo make their way upriver, but discover they're not alone, a jaguar springing from the brush. Before it can attack Martha, Andrew brings it down with a few carefully aimed shots, but the damage has already been done. Martha's broken her ankle, leaving Andrews to have to carry her the rest of the way. Finally, they reach their destination, but the banditos have caught up. Pinned down, Andrews picks off the opposing forces one by one, managing to hold out until nightfall. There, in the darkness, the mercenary makes a promise to Martha that he'll get her out of here, no matter what. The teacher confesses she doesn't care if she lives or dies, as long as she does it with the man she loves, but Andrews tells her not to get maudlin. He's got things to do. The next morning, Martha is greeted by the sight of a handmade raft built by Andrews to carry her to safety. Wow, I think I'm starting to fall for this guy myself. Martha refuses to leave without him, but he tells her to beat it. This ain't goodbye, only so long. With that, she floats off, eventually reaching the safety of a nearby village. Nursed back to health, Martha's lack of a visa forces her out of the country, and she returns to America heartbroken. She goes back to Mexico the following summer, but no trace of Andrews remains save shell casings and bloodstains, which would have been a much cooler title for this story. One afternoon a year later, a gruff voice catches Martha's ear. It's Andrews, having tracked her down after all this time. So where's he been? Why, off making his fortune, of course, so that he might marry her. And hey, look, she's so happy, she's making bubbles. That's how you know you got a good one. Next up, Anne Hanley was 20 years old, fresh out of college and on the cusp of a nightmare romance. Commotion outside draws her attention to the window, but it's a knock on her own front door that makes her blood run cold. She cautiously makes her way to the entrance. It's the cops, and they're searching every apartment for an escaped criminal. The trusting type, Anne pulls on her robe and opens the door. Only surprise, it's not the cops after all. It's one of the guys the cops are after. But Anne can relax. He's not going to hurt her. He just needs a place to lie low until the heat is off. Anne has to wonder, this guy seems too nice and polite to be a criminal. Oh, give him time, lady. Give him time. He tells her to get some shut-eye, but she's too shaken to sleep. She watches with bemusement as he helps himself to a sandwich, but this turns to excitement when she notes he set his gun aside. Moving quickly, she snatches the weapon from the countertop and levels it at him, but he seems more concerned about eating his sandwich than hot lead, and for good reason, as Anne still has the safety catch on. The invader reaches out, not for the gun, but for her. Why, under different circumstances, he'd give his right arm to meet her. Tasting of cheese and salami, he gives her a passionate kiss, yet another thing he's forced to steal. Anne pleads for him to leave, but the invader has other ideas. He calls his accomplices for a ride, revealing his name in the process. Jim Slade? Come on, man, you can do better than that. When they show up, they demand Slade ice the chippy, but if anyone ends up dead tonight, it'll be these jokers. Hey, no need to get sore. They'll just take her with them and dump her after the next job. The criminals hustle Anne to their hideout, where she meets mob enforcer Sledgehammer. The gang are laying low until mob boss Malone arrives to lay out the next move. Anne is shuttled off to a back room where she falls into a fitful sleep, but her rest is interrupted by the creak of door hinges. When your name is Hammer, I guess everything looks like it needs nailed. Anne is terrified but resists, fighting back until help arrives in the form of Big Jim Slade. He drops the hammer and the pair lam it, but are caught in the act by the other criminals. In the hail of gunfire, Anne and Slade flee, managing to reach the woods. Now out of ammunition, all they can do is run, with their pursuers close behind. Once the sun has set, things get confessional, with Jim declaring his love for Anne. Boy, things move fast back then. But I guess in a world filled with goofy-named gangsters, bloodthirsty jaguars, and killer banditos, you gotta grab for that brass ring when it comes around. Jim wants the two of them to run off and get hitched, but Anne can't. Anne won't marry a common criminal. She needs, a judge or a politician. In the light of the pale autumn moon, Jim renounces his criminal ways, and the pair flag a ride into town. At the police station, Jim lays out his cards. He's not a small-time hoodlum at all. He's a G-man assigned to the Malone case. With the cops dispatched to mop up the gang, it's wedding bells for Anne and Slade, and just in time, as the story is over. Now, for those of you paying attention and not half listening while rebagging your back issues or petting your cat, Dave, you may have noticed some similarities here. You have your strong-willed but ultimately helpless female lead and your hard-nosed, emotionally mute male in a world full of dangers, both civilized and otherwise. It's essentially the same story told 3 different times, with only rudimentary changes to the characters to prevent yesterday's readers from demanding their dime back. It's formula, but if the number of near-identical romance comics being published at the time was any indication, it was a winning formula, and those are usually worth leaning into. Next up, it's a tale plucked from Sweetheart Diary No. 1, published in December of 1949. My False Love sees Connie flirting her way through life, but while that may work in the short term, it might just lead to disaster. A bookmaking heiress sees Connie in trouble with boss, Mr. Torrance. Calling him Bert and batting her eyes, she flirts her way out of trouble and into his car, where she then hooks him for a trip to the pharmacy for her sister. On the way, Bert stops the car in the park. Can't she see that he loves her? Connie shyly admits that she has a bit of fascination with Bert as well, which sees the department store manager over the moon. Now tied around her finger, Bert runs her to the drugstore, and Grace's medicinal needs met, Connie blows him off. Later that night, at dinner, Connie discovers Grace's boyfriend Howard works in the personnel department of Layton's advertising agency. Intrigued at the prospect of getting her foot in the door, Connie turns on the charm. She ropes Howard into giving her a spin on the dance floor, and by the time the song is over, she's wheedled her way into a lunch date, leaving her sister furious. Connie tells Grace to lighten up. She only wants to use Howard is all. Grace, fed up with her shenanigans, gives Connie a piece of her mind and kicks her out of the apartment. Unfazed, Connie moves on and continues to work Howard, who gives her a position at Layton's that they might be together more often. However, much like the dog with 2 bones, Connie isn't content in the steno pool. She wants the job as Executive Glenn Cummings' personal assistant. She asks Howard if he can put in a word for her, but Howie shoots her down. He's no one's chump and knows when a dame is stringing him along. But hey, Connie doesn't need to be drawn a roadmap. She'll get the gig under her own steam, and Howard can pound salt. Connie makes a play for Glenn, purposefully falling from a ladder. How tall is that file cabinet anyway? Glenn catches her and helps her onto the couch in his office. Smooth. Unlike Howard, Glenn falls for Connie's manipulation and gives her the coveted job in the process. Her scheming ways are clear to her coworkers, but Connie is unfazed, reveling in her new position. The last thing she expects is Howard to drop in and confront her. How many more girls will she steal men from? How many more hearts will she break? Unfortunately, Glenn has overheard this whole thing. Connie throws herself into his double-breasted arms. Sure, she used to be a shrewd, manipulative harpy who used men up and then moved on, but she's changed. Only Glenn isn't buying it, storming out of the office. In the following days, he treats her as just another employee, nothing more, pressing her when Connie's emotions affect her job performance. It gets so bad, she quits, going back to her sister. In spite of being a victim herself, Grace does her best to comfort Connie, which does not go unnoticed. Showing some unexpected moxie, Connie moves to fix what she broke between Grace and Howard, setting up a dinner date between the warring parties. After some painful small talk, the two settle their differences, then Connie scuttles off. She does her best to put the pieces of her shattered life back together, eventually conceding to a blind date. And what do you know? It's Glenn. Turns out he can't live without her, for some reason. With all parties having learned valuable lessons, wedding bells ring us out. Well, poor old Burke gets screwed, but hey, you can't make an omelet without breaking a few hearts. Back to 1954, galvanized by Frederick Wortham's book and fearful of the influence these so-called comics may have had on impressionable youth, the alarm was sounded, leading to calls for censorship from parents, pointed fingers in the industry, and a full-blown U.S. congressional inquiry. Once the dust had settled, there was a new sheriff in town called the Comics Code, and the suggestive language revealing art and sexy shenanigans in general were out the window, replaced by more wholesome representations of love. This led to a rapid downfall in popularity for such books, romance titles becoming outliers rather than staples, and by the 1960s, the genre was all but forgotten about. That's not to say that there weren't exceptions, like the long-running quality/DC Comics title, Heartthrobs. Issue number 132 is published at the tail end of the line and features a phenomenal Bob Oksner cover. Oksner produced a lot of covers for DC, thanks to his prolific nature and remarkable knack for conveying human emotion, and nowhere is that more evident than here. From the wide, vulnerable eyes of our female protagonist to the sneers of the snarky duo cutting up by the paperback book rack, this one delivers an emotional wallop that immediately engages the viewer. There she goes again. She thinks he loves her. Now, I'm not sure if Oksner was just going on notes here, but the familial nature of these fellows combined with their catty commentary leaves one to wonder, are these two friends of Dorothy, or are they just drawn that way? Find out and don't believe what they say about me. Sure, Kathy's great on a date, but she's not the kind of girl you'd want to marry. It's 3 a.m., but the night's just getting started for Kathy. She and Danny are having a great time, but party pooper Allison rains on their parade. What will people think if she's seen carrying on like this? Kathy isn't the type to be shamed and needs to be dragged from the scene, finding herself back at Allie's place. There she's given the business. Why is she a Rizzo in a world full of Sandra Dees? Well, Kathy just can't help it. She doesn't want to save her kisses for when she's in love. She wants to dish them out like coleslaw at a Shriners convention. I mean, there's nothing bad or evil about it. She's just easy is all. The next day, she's all set to double date with friends, but Bill Hoyt shoots the idea down. You see, Kathy's reputation has preceded her, and Bill doesn't want to sully his good name by being seen in public with Hester Prynne here. Kathy is understandably put out by this, calling him a finky square, a damning indictment if I've ever heard one. Only later we discover Kathy might actually love him, making his public spurning of her all the more painful. Still hurting, Kathy doubles down on her wanton ways, blowing through men like Kleenex. Allie, who has to share a toilet seat with this person, expresses her understandable concerns, but a tearful Kathy shuts her down. She's not going to stop until she's good and ready. Then suddenly, she's ready when handsome Noel enters the picture. Why, he's been with a million girls, but he's never felt this before, although I'm guessing it's less about her and more his case of undiagnosed late-stage syphilis. Things move quickly with the pair planning an early wedding. It's all going swimmingly, at least until old flame Danny shows up. He takes Noel aside and clues him in to Kathy's love-'em-and-leave-'em methodology. Suddenly soured on the rink, Noel takes Kathy home, mumbling some half-hearted excuse before driving off. Convinced Danny has destroyed her only chance at happiness, Kathy frets, her suffering compounded when Noel breaks their date. She doesn't see him for days, but when he does appear, it's with a startling confession. Turns out he's been a bit of a player in the past and was worried Danny would rat him out to her. But past infidelities be damned. There's only one easy woman in the world for him, and that's Kathy, by gum. The pair agree to put the past behind them, with love, or what passes for it, once more winning the day. So there you have it. Much like that Oksner cover, love promises a lot, but often falls short of our expectations. Romance comics sold the concept of love to readers as something defined, accessible, idealizing it into something beyond practicality, when the reality of it is far more nuanced. And that's okay. While unquestionably old-fashioned and outdated, at the time these books helped young readers navigate and understand the stormy seas of their own emotions, while providing older readers momentary distractions from what might be their own less-than-ideal pairings. In the end, these books weren't angels or devils, but something in between, that inexplicable condition that we've come to call human. And that was enough. I'm Jason Mink, and I'll see you next time at breakfast.